The following is a YouTube-based audio production, brought to you by J.E. Realize. Well, I made 2 other videos about similar content, might as well go for the hat trick. The first of this series was shows I never got to watch. The second was shows I barely watched. The third, this video, is about shows that I watched a significant amount of when it was around, but then stopped. For some reason. Maybe the show went a different direction that I didn't like. Maybe I lost the channel. Maybe something dark happened that kept me from seeing the show the same way again. Either way, I just didn't see the rest. So anyway, let's begin. Aaron Stone. It's clearly first in alphabetical order, so might as well start the list with it. I mentioned the early days of Disney XD in an earlier video, but this was the first live-action Disney XD original, at least in the US. It first started up around the same time as the channel, and I just had to watch it. The main character gets chosen by an underground organization to play as his avatar from a game called Hero Rising in real life, to fight this group called the Omega Defiance and their plans to take over the world. Pretty basic storyline, I'll admit, but I wanted to see how it ended. For some reason, I stopped watching around Season 2. I don't know why, because it can get good at times. And it came before a similar show from Cartoon Network, Level Up, so there are some bragging points there. The Simpsons. Bit of a cheap shot, I'll admit. I'll keep this brief. I liked it enough until around the early 2010s when I just stopped caring. Part of it was due to the change in direction in the show, but part of it was something else. That's in point 10 of this list. Power Rangers. No surprise I wouldn't watch it anymore, but I basically binged the series from 2004 to 2008. Most of the series up until Jungle Fury. It was all up on Jetix, one of the precursors to Disney XD. Before that, it was on Fox Kids, and heck, I even watched it on Vortex. Hands up if you remember that. But then I stopped watching because Jetix was replaced in 2009. The one reason why I didn't watch it wasn't because it ended. No, it's still going strong. The reason was it moved to Nickelodeon, a channel I wouldn't have in the satellite package I used until 2018. And by then I realized what was going on with Megaforce, what a name, and Super Megaforce, what a name, and knew that was just too much. Yin Yang Yo. Speaking of Jetix, there was this one show about 2 rabbits mastering the mystic and martial arts under the teachings, legally I have to use air quotes, of their teacher who's a panda. Yes, everything's anthropomorphic, and there's a wide array of bad guys, episodic plots, and cheap humor. But I liked it. Hey, Jetix had some good original content. The only reason I put this on the list is because I know I missed a few episodes. I watched the first few seasons and the final episodes, but there were some in between I missed. Wait, that sounds like my history with the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters anime series. I should have put that here instead. Oh well, serves them right for not fleshing out the Grand Championship arc. I don't care if it's filler. 16 duels. All I wanted to see was 16 duels, and I didn't even see half of them. I wanted to see nobody's duel. Can you blame me? Doctor Who. Christmas 2017. I was watching the last Capaldi episode of the series, where the Doctor refused to regenerate again, so the first Doctor showed up. There was someone doomed to die to a German. Bill Potts was there for some reason. She had a girlfriend for some reason. The Christmas tree started. The Doctor regenerated into a woman. She fell out of the TARDIS before she could grope herself. And scene. Okay. Interesting setup. But for some reason or another, I didn't get to watch any more Doctor Who after that, because I didn't know there was more after that. It wasn't until a few months ago that someone told me the finale of Series 12 ended, and I was like, how did I not hear about this? Short answer, I live in America. But I did watch the modern version of Doctor Who up to Christmas 2017, somehow. But I guess it's just as well that I took a break after hearing how the Series 12 finale went. Good luck to you if you were there. Dollhouse. Ever heard of this show? No? I don't blame you. The epitaphs are obsolete by now anyway. The show was written by Joss Whedon, yes, that Joss Whedon, and had 2 seasons on Fox in the late 2000s. It had an interesting premise. People could sell their bodies to this company for 10 years, their minds would be uploaded off-site for safekeeping until then, and their bodies would have personalities and skills uploaded to them for each mission that rich folks would want them to be used for. It was an interesting way to study the human mind and the nature of consciousness. Or at least should have been, I don't remember. I had a friend give me the first 2 seasons to watch, but I only watched Season 1 and part of Season 2, including the end of that season, and both epitaphs, before just not getting into it anymore. Maybe it went too slow for me, I don't know. Black Mirror. Speaking of dark and scary hypothetical subjects and Jodie Whittaker, ha ha! I used to watch Black Mirror. Stories about technological and scientific concepts in real life? How could I lose? It was admittedly a bit creepy at times, but I'm a completionist, what can you say? Until Bandersnatch. I am not a fan of choose-your-own-adventure stories, mainly because I was afraid of getting it wrong. I still am. That's why I will never touch Detroit Become Human, despite liking the premise. I didn't want to continue the series without finishing Bandersnatch, and I didn't want to watch Bandersnatch, so I shelved the show. Until next time. Good God, this is getting depressing. How about we liven things up with the kids show? WordGirl. You were probably never expecting this, unless you were. This was a mid to late 2000s show that aired on PBS Kids that I used to watch as a kid. Actually, no, I was a teen. Essentially, it was Superman, but with a 10-year-old girl who also had the power to define words. But if you too know PBS Kids shows, essentially, it was Superman with the contrived word defining of Martha Speaks. Ha ha! But I say hey, it was pretty entertaining to watch as my younger self. Also, Tom Kenny voices one of the villains, whose origin story is suspiciously similar to one of his other characters. It's probably nothing. Anyway, I pretty much abandoned PBS in the early 2010s, even though I know there were a few more episodes I have yet to watch. But I have no idea if my psyche can stomach a revisit. My Hero Academia. While I watched up to part of Season 4, so I probably shouldn't put this on the list. But I generally don't watch anime alone, at least not in the present day. I'd ask my brother to introduce me to an anime series, and he and I would watch something together. He was responsible for me watching the first 4 series of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, so give it up for him. As for this show, I made it through a fair amount, but at one point I got irked. I'll try to cut down a bit on the explanation to avoid spoiling Season 3, but suffice to say, the creators should have kept the quirkless vampire villain as a quirkless vampire villain. I would have liked to see how a quirkless villain would have functioned. As for watching the series, my brother hasn't asked if I wanted to watch new episodes, so I'm just waiting for that. I wonder what other anime is out there, though. Tell me, is My Chemical Romance an anime? Family Guy. Please, no, I don't want to talk about it! Okay, I'll talk about it! This has nothing to do with Seth's choice of comedy, unlike with The Simpsons. What this had to do with is an experience I had in high school. Being a teenager is nothing to brag about, take it from me. Saying you are allowed to watch TV-14 or PG-13 content does not make you look cool or mature. It just makes you look more immature than you already are. But that's another story. But what this had to do with why I kind of stopped watching is because of an offhand experience in my smaller high school. I had 2 high schools growing up. I should tell that story in a future video. Taking a break from classwork, some of us students would just kind of talk with each other, me included. But sometimes I'd also involve the teachers for good or bad. In this instance, I was talking about instances in television shows where characters of one show would cross over with another. And the example I used was, get this, one of the Stewie Kills Lois episodes where Stewie breaks into the national power grid and Stan Smith from American Dad shows up. The problem was, when mentioning this to my teacher, she said something etched in my mind to this day that kind of sapped my will to watch the series. She told me, in the most judging way, "Your parents let you watch Family Guy?" I froze up. I needed to cover myself, so I somehow diverted attention to another show, and the issue was never brought up again. And while it didn't happen immediately, over the next 2 years I kind of stopped watching not only Family Guy, but Fox altogether. The ironic thing is, one day the show premiered as a Spanish dub on Telemundo. I showed my parents this, and after they saw a few episodes, I asked them if they would let me watch it. They said yes. Well, I guess that tears it. See, teacher, they would have let me. Well, that ends it. That's a load off my mind. This has been J.E. Realize. Do the feedback thing. Like, comment, subscribe, or dislike. It's hardly a popular video without a dislike. Follow me on Twitter at J.E. Realize. I'll see you next time. And there will be a next time. This concludes our YouTube-based audio production. I hope you enjoy, and I wish you farewell.